Some psychological experiments have pushed the limits of science, but at what cost? While some uncover profound insights, others have sparked outrage for their harmful and unethical methods. How far should we go in the name of knowledge? Let's dive into the most disturbing studies that shocked both the scientific world and the lives of those involved. Number 5. The Monkey Drug Trials, 1969. In 1969, scientists sought to understand the psychological dependence on drugs by using monkeys as their subjects. The research aimed to explore the link between drug abuse and addiction, a topic that is now widely accepted but had not been studied in depth at the time. Researchers injected monkeys with cocaine, morphine, LSD, and alcohol and left them in a room filled with these substances. The hypothesis was that the monkeys would self-administer the drugs due to psychological dependence. While the results confirmed the hypothesis, they also revealed the gruesome aftermath. The monkeys began to suffer severe physical harm, convulsing, breaking limbs, and even tearing off their own fingers as they became overwhelmed by hallucinations. Tragically, many of the monkeys died as a result. The study undeniably validated the theory of addiction, but raised serious questions about the ethical treatment of animals in scientific experiments. Number 4. The Third Wave Experiment, 1967. In 1967, a high school teacher named Ron Jones conducted a controversial experiment to demonstrate the social conditions that led to the rise of the Nazi regime. To help his students understand authoritarianism, Jones created an environment that mimicked the rise of fascism. On the first day, he wrote "Strength through discipline" on the chalkboard and established strict rules, fostering a dictatorial classroom atmosphere. The students, initially skeptical, soon became captivated by the sense of belonging and structure, forming a group called the Third Wave. The movement quickly spread across the school, with students adopting militaristic gestures and even forming divisions that attacked dissenting students. As the situation escalated, Jones revealed the experiment to the students, showing how easily individuals could fall under the influence of a charismatic leader and succumb to groupthink. Although the experiment was meant to serve as an educational lesson, the extreme measures taken to enforce conformity raised concerns about the psychological manipulation of young minds. Number 3. The Unethical Harvard Stress Study, 1950. In the 1950s, psychologist Henry Murray conducted a disturbing study to explore how extreme stress could shape a person's values and beliefs. Murray believed that stress played a crucial role in personality development, and he sought to test this theory by pushing participants to their emotional limits. His subjects were Harvard undergraduates, who were tasked with writing deeply personal essays outlining their core beliefs and values. These essays were then dissected by law students who systematically destroyed their arguments in a dark room, leaving the students in a state of psychological distress. The emotional toll of the experiment was profound. The students were humiliated in front of their peers and forced to watch footage of themselves being torn down. Many reported feelings of confusion, helplessness, and extreme anxiety. The idea behind the study was to see how people would respond to stress and whether it would alter their core beliefs, but the ethical implications were glaring. The level of distress inflicted upon these young adults went far beyond what was necessary for academic inquiry. One of the most infamous outcomes of this study was the transformation of a participant named Ted Kaczynski. Known later as the Unabomber, Kaczynski reportedly developed a deep hatred for modern society after his experience in the study. Some researchers and psychologists have speculated that the trauma he endured during Murray's experiment contributed to his later violent actions, although Kaczynski himself denied any such connection. Regardless of whether the experiment directly influenced his future actions, it remains a stark example of how research can have lasting and devastating consequences on its subjects. The study sparked intense ethical debates about the responsibility researchers have to safeguard the emotional well-being of their participants. Number 2. The John Money Gender Experiment, 1967. One of the most tragic psychological experiments in history involved the case of David Reimer, who became the subject of a controversial study led by psychologist John Money. In the 1960s, Reimer was a young boy who suffered a severe injury during a botched circumcision, which left him with irreversible damage to his genitalia. John Money, a prominent psychologist, saw this as an opportunity to prove his theory that gender identity was purely a social construct, not determined by biology. He convinced David's parents to raise him as a girl, changing his name to Brenda and subjecting him to gender reassignment surgeries and hormone treatments in an attempt to correct his gender identity. Despite the surgeries and efforts to raise Brenda as a girl, the psychological and emotional distress that Reimer experienced was overwhelming. As Brenda grew older, she felt increasingly uncomfortable with her female identity, and the imposed gender role caused immense psychological pain. She faced bullying at school and struggled with feelings of isolation and confusion about her identity. By the age of 14, Brenda revealed to her parents that she identified as a boy and wanted to undergo surgery to revert back to her male identity. His name was changed back to David, and he had a series of surgeries to align his body with his gender identity. Tragically, David Reimer's life was marked by deep trauma, and both he and his twin brother, another patient of John Money, died by suicide. The case raised profound ethical questions about the intervention in a child's gender development. Many believe that Money's experiment, which ignored David's inherent sense of gender, led to significant psychological damage and robbed him of his ability to choose his own identity. Money's refusal to acknowledge the psychological toll the experiment had on David and his family remains one of the most controversial and heart-wrenching examples of unethical psychological research. Number 1. MK-Ultra, the CIA's mind control experiments 1953-1973. Perhaps the most infamous and terrifying psychological experiment in history is MK-Ultra, a covert CIA program aimed at exploring mind control, brainwashing, and interrogation techniques. From 1953 to 1973, MK-Ultra subjected unwitting individuals to a series of psychological abuses, including the administration of LSD, sensory deprivation, and hypnosis, in an effort to understand how to manipulate human behavior for military and intelligence purposes. The program targeted vulnerable populations, such as prisoners, mental health patients, and drug addicts, who were unable to give informed consent. The CIA even set up brothels to obtain men who would be too ashamed to speak out about their abuse. The experiments were carried out without the knowledge or consent of the subjects, and many participants suffered long-lasting psychological damage. At one point, the CIA conducted tests on unwitting citizens, testing the effects of LSD by slipping the drug into their food and drinks, all in the name of national security. Some subjects were left in sensory deprivation chambers for extended periods, and others were subjected to hypnosis and other forms of psychological manipulation. When the Watergate scandal broke in the 1970s, the CIA was ordered to destroy all records related to MK-Ultra. However, many of the files were never fully destroyed, and the scope of the program remains shrouded in mystery. What is known is that MK-Ultra caused immense trauma to its victims and sparked a public outcry when its existence was finally revealed. The program not only raised serious concerns about the ethics of government-sponsored research, but also led to increased scrutiny of the lengths to which governments might go to control and manipulate individuals. MK-Ultra's dark legacy has continued to shape discussions about the ethical treatment of research participants and the need for transparency in government-funded experiments. These shocking experiments raise serious ethical questions. If you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Stay curious and stay informed.